Hi guys, this is CE Divine back again with part 5, I believe, of the Impala factory integration build. What I'm showing now is how to route the wires. I've already done the driver's side wires so I could see what I was getting into. So then I could just go straight forward with the passenger side without any fuss. What you're going to want to start to run the tweeter wires is get in there in this panel. Will need to come off. It's held in with speed clips. It's amazing how much our cars are held together with speed clips. And that comes off, and that gives you easy access getting down in here for the tweeter wiring, and then that will run along the floorboard. I'll show taking these panels off again. Now, one added bonus that I was really happy to find out about was that I can save the factory tweeter. Now, having to cut them off at the top like I thought. You can see that little connector right back there with the green and red wires coming out of it. It's the same as the rest of the GM factory connectors. There's the plug. And then the tweeter just slides forward, and there it is. So if you ever do decide to sell the car and take it out, you can just save these. You've already got the plugs in the factory stereo. It'll just be a straight pull on most of the stuff. Now, the same thing with it's easier to go straight from factory to full amp than replacing your factory speakers first and running them off the head unit, because what I had to do was unfortunately cut the factory wiring, and what I've done is added bullet connectors further down into the speaker wire. And here's what I was talking about I'm going to be soldering on earlier, is a lead like this, but instead of these spade terminals here, I'm going to solder this end of the wire directly to the speaker, because those little pokes on the negative, just that little circle right there is about the size of the poke terminal, so I had to really squeeze these down, and I was only getting contact on about 1/3 of the plug, which I really didn't like. So what I'm going to do is solder, and then on the other end we'll have female bullet connectors. And then the speaker wires, I'm going to pull them out once I've got them ran and label them, and they will have the male bullet connectors, which is what I've done on these factory plugs. If you do replace the factory speakers and then amp later with the PAC line out converter, the factory speaker wires will still be hot. So what you'll want to do is either electrical tape or solder, which is always the way I prefer to go if possible, those bare wires so you don't get a short circuit condition inside the door. So now what we're going to do is remove all of the panels along the floorboard. Just one clip, two clip, get off of there, and then 3 clip. 1, 2, 3. I showed you guys this yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and do it again anyway. And here in just a little bit, I'm going to take all of these trim panels inside, because I'm going to need to get inside the trunk to do some work. Then next, I'll be removing this panel. There are no speed clips holding it on. It's just held on by friction. There it goes. And you don't necessarily need to do this just to kind of get the links on your speaker wire, but I'm doing it now. 1, because I can. 2, to go over it with you guys, and 3, to get the wires closer to where they'll be in their final resting position. And I'm cutting about 1 to 2 feet of extra length on these wires, so there's a little bit to play with, and I can always go on the amp end and cut the wire off. So there's those factory panels out of the way, and I've already kind of cleaned up the amp. There's a little bit of the amp wire, and it goes underneath this panel because I don't want to pull my back seats out on doing this. And then right in there, there's a little bit of a gap between the tray on the LT models, LTZ and SS models with the folding seats, that the amp wire can fit right down into with no friction. And then I just brought it up behind the seat, and everything will terminate right here. Okay, now moving along to wiring for the tweeters. Get my cable. The amp kit that I got came with 60 feet of wire, and I think I'm going to use just about all of it with cutting over on my links, but I would rather have more length than to cut it all off, find out I'm short some speaker wire, and then have to go get more and pull everything that I've already put in out. So I'm just kind of undoing this here. I mean, this should be more than plenty. What I'll do is just feed that wire down in there, and it's kind of like that factory tweeter. Really, there's not a whole lot to wiring these tweeters. If you can get it back behind that metal plate, that's good. Just like that. And then pull it all through. Careful if you get too vigorous, bad things happen. Just set this down for a second. Okay, so there's that tweeter wire pulled through. Now I'm just going to kind of stick it down through here. Leave it nice and loose. And let me go ahead and slide that back through there. And pull all of this excess out. And there's where it will terminate. I've got way too much tweeter wire here, about 5 feet too much of it, but that's okay. I would rather have more, just like I said earlier, than not have enough. So there's that. And then cut it. I'm using my pocket knife for a lot of my cutting on this wire because the wire cutters and strippers that I bought from Ace Hardware are complete crap. They don't line up right. I should have spent the money on a nice set of Klein tools. Okay, to route the speaker wire through the door, we've got this little plastic cover, rubber cover on here that attaches one side to the body and the other side to the door. You'll only need to pull one side loose and you can kind of worm the wire through. I came in through the door, and then that wire will come out right through there, behind there, and you can feel it. You can feel the factory plug. See me wiggling it right now from the other side. Speaker wire will run through there, and then it's just the same story as running the tweeters. Just run it down through there, give yourself plenty to work with. This is a little bit of a two-handed process, is why I'm just covering this right now without actually showing anything. But so to cover that again, pull the body side of that channel loose, run from inside the door panel because you've got plenty of room to get your hand in there. Run the speaker wire through, and then once you've got enough to grab in between there, go ahead and just start feeding it on through and run it to the back just like I did with the tweeter wire. I'll give you guys another update later whenever I'm soldering the connections on this speaker wire. I'll kind of show you the soldering process. This is CE Divine.